Hello everyone and welcome to Life Begins at 20. My name is Mark and today we have the Black Cards episode of my massive cube update. Now, there's been over 300 changes to my cube, which has been absolutely incredible and is playing so much better. And that is purely down to the fact that all of you have helped with suggestions for cards and ideas for cards to help me improve my cube, and I can't thank you all enough for how the cube is playing now. And if you'd like to make suggestions again, feel free to do so in the comments section below. Now, there are already videos up for the white cards and the blue cards. There'll be a link in the description to the playlist with all of them in there. So by the end of the 2-week period, there will be all of the cards updated for my cube, and I will not let these cube update videos take so long to come out, because I'm not leaving another 300 cards. There shouldn't be 300 cards to change now, but needless to say, I won't be leaving it that long. I'll make sure that they're a little more regular, and also then means that I can be a little bit more in depth of why the changes have been taking place as well. So again, thank you to everybody that has given me suggestions. The cube's playing so much nicer, and that's all down to you. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. So starting off with the Planeswalkers here, we have 4 in black, which may well be a little too high, and the first one to go will end up being Obnixilis there. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not finding that I'm seeing the Planeswalkers too many times in drafts or sealed environments, so this is great. I'm absolutely over the moon to have picked up Liliana of the Veil. I mean, absolutely stunning Planeswalker, so good, serves so many great purposes within black and blue, and those kinds of style of decks as well is just really strong. Filling your graveyard up, pumping her up even better, you know, getting your opponent to sacrifice a creature, just such a good Planeswalker, and I'm so glad my partner opened up this card. I think that's probably the most expensive card I now have in my cube. Next we have the same as before, which is Liliana, the Last Hope. I mean, she's a really good Planeswalker as well. She's doing some really good work with zombies and standard. I mean, she can protect herself. You know, you get to find yourself, get a creature back from the graveyard to your hand, which could be, you know, quite useful later on in the game as well. And then if you get to her ultimate, which isn't that unheard of, I've had it happen a few times in cube games, you know, just do some really decent damage there. Again, like I said before, Obnixilis is one that looks really great in foil. I mean, it came from the dual deck. Decent enough Planeswalker. I'm happy with him. I'm not going to say I wanted him to disappear or anything along those lines. I mean, he's very good in a nice little control shell as well, so I do like him for that. And then the newest one we've picked up, again, my partner managed to open up. I don't know whether we can see. You can just about see it in foil there. Liliana Death's Majesty. I really do like this. It's not necessarily going to be quick enough for a reanimation style deck, because her -3 is fantastic. Protects herself and feeds reanimator as well anyway, with +1, putting 2/2 zombie creature out onto the battlefield, which is really nice as well. Again, I'm enjoying testing her out. She seems to be doing a very good job for me at the moment. Again, not quite quick enough to be, you know, the pure combo reanimator, but in a more control environment for it, she's actually doing a pretty good job, and, you know, can't complain about having her in foil. So moving on to the 1-drops and creatures, and like I said in the white video, I've done a lot of work to really push aggro in my black 1-drops especially. 2-drops there probably needs to be a couple more of in comparison to my 3-drops, but I wanted to try and make sure that black aggro was available, so you could have white-black aggro or red-black aggro or something along those lines. So starting off, is again a new card here with Bloodsoaked Champion. It can't block, it's not the end of the world. It's a 2/1 for 1, which is really what we were going for here. Plus, you know, you can use the raid functionality there to return them from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's just a nice recurring creature as well, so that's quite nice. Next up, again, it's just a 2/1 for 1 here. Again, it can't block, which is not the end of the world in an aggro shell at all. It's a 2/1 for 1 again. You can bestow it onto a creature, which can be quite useful as well, potentially, if that's what you wanted to do. Meaning giving +2/+1 for 4 isn't fantastic, and meaning can't block, but, you know, as a 2/1 for 1, that's great. Gravecrawler is the same as before, so for 1 cost, 2/1 for 1, it can't block, which is fine. Again, you're not going to have any issues with that, and you can cast it from your graveyard as long as you control another zombie, which is really nice recursion. It's fantastic, and I'm also gone a little bit towards an aristocrat style option within my black section as well. So this is going to be very, very good because constantly sacking and then bringing back. A new card now from Amonkhet and Dread Wanderer. Again, it's a 2/1 for 1. Enters the battlefield tapped, but the fact it can block as well is still going to be very, very useful. And you can also have a little bit of recursion there as well, which is fantastic. Again, we've got Tormented Hero. It's a nice little foil version. I'm trying to get hold of it there for you. Enters the battlefield tapped is its only little downside. It's 2/1 for 1, and it's got Heroic as well, so whenever you cast a spell that targets him, your opponent loses a life and you gain a life, which is fantastic as well, so I do quite like that. Next we have our 2/2s for 1 cost there. Sorry, there was 3 of them, my mistake. So all of them have a little bit of a downside. I mean, this one just comes in tap. That's not really much of a problem. Carnophage doesn't come in tap, but you have to pay 1 life for your upkeep, or you have to tap him. And Vampire Lacerator as well. They're in an aggro shell. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless your opponent has 10 or less. So again, it's positives then to like knock your opponent down as quickly as possible, so then there's no downside to using that card. And then the last one we've got is Crypt Breaker, and again, this hasn't changed from before. It's just a nice little, almost mini Planeswalker in a card. So 1/1 for 1, which isn't necessarily fantastic. Pay 1 in a black and tap it to discard a card to put a zombie creature onto the battlefield, which is fantastic. Fills your graveyard up as well if needs be. Or if you've got Madness available, you can get something quite cheap out. Or you can then tap 3 untapped zombies you control, you can draw a card and lose a life as well. So I really do like this as a really versatile card. So moving on to the 2-drops now, we have, that game winner card, just absolutely fantastic in Pack Rat. Discarding cards to fill your graveyard up, fantastic, and you just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and this is a nice little game winning card there. I'm so glad to have picked up Pack Rat. Era Falcon Wrath's another really, really good card here. So for 2 cost, it's a 2/1. It's not really. You get to discard a card, fill your graveyard up, that kind of thing, and turns it into a flying 3/2, and that is absolutely fantastic. Next, we've got Relentless Dead. I almost pulled the trigger in selling this one just because of how much the price had gone up in standard as comparison to when I got it. I do really like this card though. So for 2 black, which can be a little bit difficult early on in the game to pay, is to get yourself a 2/2 with Menace. Menace is always useful, especially for aggro, and it's just a nice recurring creature. Plus, you can also then get other zombies back from the graveyard as well, so it can not only recur itself, it can do other things as well, and I do like that about it. Asylum Visitor is another card that I've brought back. I took it out for a little bit, and now I've actually brought it back because it's just doing some really good work, and I did actually miss it. So for 2, it's a 3/1, which is really nice and aggressive. Plus, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if that player has no cards in hand, you then get to get some extra card draw at a cost of a life, which isn't the end of the world, so I do really like that. A card now from Aether Revolt, which I've got in foil as well. It does look really nice in foil. So it's a 2/1 with Menace for 2. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get 1 energy. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay 2. If you do, draw a card and lose 1 life. And I really do like this because unless it gets removed earlier on after you've attacked for the first time potentially, you can get yourself a card draw, and it's just self-sufficient as well. You don't need to have extra energy enablers in your cube for it to work well. If you do have it, then even better, you can get it more often, but I do really like that. And then the last 2 I've got here are Blood Artist and Zilliport Cutthroat, really to go through that little bit of an aristocrat style deck, because to be honest, I like playing a white-black control, and to be perfectly honest, I really do like the way of just building tokens, sacrificing them away, and just sucking the life out of your opponent and just getting them down this way. It's really, really fun to do. I'm so glad I picked up Blood Artist very, very recently, but I've got a standard deck with Zilliport Cutthroat, and I'm really enjoying it. So moving on into the 3-drops, like I said before, it's probably a little bit heavy in the creature side. I mean, there's just a lot of really good 3-dropping creatures. So start off with, we've got Liliana, Heretical Healer. For 1 and 2 black, you've got yourself a 2/3 with lifelink. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, exile her and bring her back. I mean, always good to be able to protect into a Planeswalker form. 3 loyalty plus 2, each player discards a card, not an issue. Return target non-legendary creature from your converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Again, it's really nice to be able to do that later on in the game. And -8 if you can get to that, which shouldn't be too difficult. It's just 3 turns of doing it. You can then just go whenever a creature dies, you bring it back, and that's just phenomenal. So she's done. I've actually had that ultimate go off a couple of times, and that's just really, really fun to do. Next, we've got Vampire Nighthawk. It is in foil. I'm trying to get that for you now. Again, I just really do like this creature. It's a 2/3 flying death touch lifelink for 1 and 2 black. It's not absolutely incredible in the cube scenario, but it is still really nice, and the foil looks pretty cool. Next we've got Drana, Liberator of Malakir. So again, this is a newer card that I've managed to put in. 1 and 2 black for a 2/3 flying first strike, which is pretty nice, and it works really well in a aggressive style deck. So whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So you're just going to be pumping up your board. It's just going to potentially get out of control unless dealt with, so that's really nice. Next we've got Herald of Torment. So again, 1 and 2 black. I've got a few of them that are 1 and 2 black, so again, some of these might end up having to be replaced because of the potential casting cost issues, but it's a flying 3/3. Beginning of your upkeep you lose 1 life, but you can also then bestow it on a creature to give it +3/+3 and flying, so potentially a useful card later on in the game. Old style card here in Hypnotic Spectre. I do like the white border on this as well. 1 and 2 black, it's flying, 2/2. An opponent is damaged by him, must discard a card at random from his or her hand, which is pretty cool. I always like a way of, with black getting rid of the opponent's hands and discarding cards. Next up we've got Bone Shredder. So it's a flying 1/1 for 3. Enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. So that's pretty cool. It's actually quite nice to then, worst in some case scenarios, reanimating back to get that trigger. New card from Amonkhet, which I really do like, is Plague Belcher. So for 3, it's a 5/4 with Menace. Enters the battlefield, put 2/1/1 -1/-1 counters, on target creature you control. Again, it's perfect for putting on, say, Gravedigger, for example, or another creature along those lines that you can get back and just recur back. So that's really nice. And whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So you can almost get like a little bit of a 2-for-1 going on there, where you can bring him in, put the counters on Gravedigger. Gravedigger dies, you leech your opponent for 1 life, and then you can bring Gravedigger back as well for 1 mana. So that's really nice. He's been very, very strong. Next, we've got Bontu the Glorified. Again, going for a little bit of an aristocrat style theme here. So for 2 and a black, you've got yourself a 4/6 Menace with Indestructible, which is fantastic. You can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn, which again is not a problem because there's going to be plenty of ways to sacrifice creatures. You're then going to leech your opponent down with Cutthroat or Blood Artist, or even Plague Belcher if they're zombies as well, and then you can be swinging in with this guy. Plus, you can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice a creature, scry 1, and then leech them down as well. So he's really, really nice. Next up, we've got Grim Horspex. So for 2 and a black, it's a 3/2. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get to draw a card. So again, works in the way that sacrificing creatures and getting benefits out of that, which is pretty cool. Next up, we've got Flesh Carver. Again, this one hasn't changed. So for 2 and a black, it's a 2/2 with Intimidate. You can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice another creature. Again, works well with all the other cards that we've got going on here. To put 2 +1/+1 counters on him. Plus, then when he dies, you get to put an X black horror creature token onto the battlefield where X is his power. So not only will he maybe disappear later on in the game, you also then get a big creature back as well, which is really nice. Another one of the sacrifice outlets we've got here is Yeheni Undying Partisan. So for 2 and a black, it's a 2/2 with haste, so it works well as an aggressive card at the same time. And whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on him, so he could end up getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially with a lot of removal. Plus, you get to sacrifice another creature on your side. So again, free sacrifice to get all of those other triggers off, and he becomes indestructible as well, which is pretty cool. Again, going with the sacrifice theme, we've got Nantuko Husk here. So for 2 and a black, you got a 2/2, sacrifice a creature, and he gets +2/+2 till the end of turn. You can just keep doing that as much as you'd like. Plus, it looks pretty cool in foil, I must admit. Next, we've got Weaponcraft Enthusiast. It's a 0/1 for 2 and a black, and it's got Fabricate 2 there. To be perfectly honest, all I end up doing with this is just making servos and then be using those as sacrifice fodder, and that works out pretty nicely as well. So that's the reason why he's there. He's potentially a little bit weak, but he does a good job for the aristocrat style we're going on there. Mardu Strike Leader's next. So for 2 and a black, it's a 3/2, and whenever he attacks, you get to put a 2/1 black warrior creature token onto the battlefield. So that's really nice. It just, again, you get a few more tokens, more sacrifice outlets as well. From him attacking, you get yourself a little warrior. sacrifice it away if needs be to do other bits and pieces as well. Plus, it also then means you've got a bigger board presence if you're actually trying to, really hit in with your opponent quite hard there. Plus, the dash cost is always nice, so you can swing in with him straight away, get your token, and then have it back into your hand, so you can just keep doing that. So that's pretty nice. And the last card we've got in the twos is Magus of the Will. 3/3 for 3, and for 2 and a black, you get to exile him. Until the end of turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. It's not been fantastic. It's probably one of those cards that I will end up taking out, but the situations where it has been useful, it's been absolutely fantastic. So there's a little bit of me that's like, I probably should get rid of this, but at the same time, I don't have Yawgmoth's Will in my cube, and this does a pretty decent job of imitating that. So it's one of those cards I'm not so sure about. I'm pretty on the fence, but it's done some decent work. So moving on to the 4-drops, we're going to start off with Desecration Demon. 2 and 2 black for a flying 6/6. You're not going to complain about that at all. And at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, you get to tap it and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So not only will it provide to be a really big threat on the board anyway, and then you just maybe end up forcing your opponent to sacrifice creatures and keep doing that while your creature gets even bigger. So it's a bit of a win-win there, unless you're playing like a heavy token strategy, in which case it just taps it down forever. But I still think it's a pretty decent card to have in there. Next, we've got Necrotal. I had it in here before, but we've upgraded it to a foil, and I do like this card. It's a 2/1 with First Strike for 4, which isn't fantastic, but when it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature, and it can't be regenerated. So, a nice piece of removal on enter the battlefield, and potentially if you're, end up playing Slight Flicker with this as well, you can really abuse that trigger. Next up, we've got Braid's Cabal Minion, and I really do quite like this. I've also got Smokestack in here as well. I probably need to really support that archetype a little bit more, but I do like this card. So again, 2 and 2 black for a 2/2. Beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or a land. And I think I also need to pick up Ophiomancer as well. That's a card that I probably really should get hold of, just to be able to keep getting a supply of tokens to kill off. But I do like playing this style of deck. It's been really, really fun. And then the last of the 4-drops, no, sorry, not the last one. We've got Skin Render here. So it's a 3/3 for 4. When it enters the battlefield, put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature, which is really nice because that also then gets around indestructibility as well if those -1/-1 counters become more than the toughness of that creature. So I do like that. Another enter battlefield trigger worth abusing. And then last of all, we've got Gonti, Lord of Luxury. I've actually been quite impressed with this card. So it's a 2/3 with Death Touch for 4, which isn't really why it's here. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of the target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, and then put the rest at the bottom in a random order. And for as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it and cast it, and you can spend your mana as if it was mana of any type. And in a cube, you could pick up some really, really fantastic cards from this. And I've ended up playing Black-Red, for example, and I've managed to get hold of a Sun Titan, which has just been ridiculous, or other things along those lines, and it's really, really helped. So he's actually been some really good work for me. It's just a shame the artwork is so dark. So moving on into the 5-drops, we're going to start off with Puppeteer Clique here. Again, I really do like this card. I've got a reanimation theme going on. There's a couple of cards I still need to pick up for it, like Entomb and Reanimate itself, but I've still got a fair amount of it in here that could really help. So again, it's flying 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you get to put target creature from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And it gains haste. At the beginning of the next end step, exile it, and it's got persist as well, so you could do that another time if it ends up getting removed. I really do like this about this card. It's just getting something massive with an enter battlefield trigger from your opponent, and in cube, that's really, really fun. Next, we've got Priest of the Bloodright. So it's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you give yourself a 5/5 flying demon token as well. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life. But to be perfectly honest, what I end up doing is bringing that creature in. If your opponent attacks, I just use it as a chump blocker to get rid of it, or even sacrificing this creature at the end of my opponent's turn, for example, if I've got your Henny out, just to get rid of it so I don't actually have that problem. And then even bringing it back or flickering it to get another 5/5 demon's always fun. A card that I was recommended by a lot of people in my last set of videos is Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and to be perfectly honest, everybody was right. I needed to get this into my cube quite quickly. So for 3 and 2 blacks, a 2/4, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain life, and that's just given me so many huge swings in games as well. So thank you to everybody that told me that to put that one in. And last of all, again, it's already been in here from previously, is Shriekmaw. 4 and a black, so 3/2 with fear, enters the battlefield. Again, it's just a nice destroy target creature. There's non-artifact and non-black, or you can just pay as a vote cost to kill off a creature as well, so a little bit of versatility there as well. So moving into the 6+ drops, we're starting off with Noxious Gearhulk. 6 cost for a 5/4 menace. When it enters the battlefield, destroying another target creature, and then you gain life equal to its toughness. That is always useful, and to be perfectly honest, some of the plays that it's had with it has been a massive swing. So killing off, say, their Sun Titan and gaining 6 life has just been great. So I do like that. A card that helped me finish off the Titan cycle, because this was the only one I was missing, because I was trying to get hold of the nice foil promo version of it, but I bought it from a buyer and it didn't actually end up getting here, which was a bit of a shame. So naturally get my money back, and I ended up having to get this one. But it's still really, really nice card. So a 6/6 for 6 with Death Touch, enters the battlefield. So you're really getting 10 power from your 6 mana there, and you know, every time it attacks as well, getting some more zombies, and it just ends up closing the game out really quickly. A card that has actually done some decent work for me from Kaladesh. I haven't thought about getting rid of this as of yet, because it's just been quite good. So for 3 and 3 black, the 3 black may be a little bit of a problem. You get yourself a flying 5/5, enters the battlefield. All other creatures get -2/-2 to the end of the turn. So it's perfect to bring in at the top of, say, a control deck or something along those lines to take out loads of tokens, which is really nice. And whenever another creature dies, you get an energy counter, which again, if when it enters the battlefield, getting a load of token creatures out of the way with is going to be doing some decent work, and you're going to get enough energy there. And then for 2 and a black and 4 energy, you get to put target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield onto your control tapped. So it's just another little way of getting something back. I do really like this, and it has performed pretty well for me. It's not perfect, but it has performed pretty well. Probably should get a different reanimation target for black, like Shieldred, but the only one that I've got in my cube that is just, you've got to have Grizzlebrand. I opened this up in Modern Masters 2017, over the moon, and he's just absolutely awesome. The perfect reanimation target, but I probably do need to get a couple of others within my cube, like Shieldred, for example, would be perfect, but this guy is just immense. Moving on into the instance, we're going to start off with Dark Ritual. I really do like the old artwork on that as well. That's always useful, especially Reanimator loves it, because of just trying to get out everything as quickly as possible, and you can have some really incredible turns with this. But, paying 1 mana to get 3 has always been useful at any point in the game. And then we've got 3 pieces of instant speed removal at 1 cost. So Disfigure, -2/-2 to the end of the turn, it's always pretty useful. Tragic Slip, -1/-1, but the Morbid trigger means -13/-13, which is actually quite easy to achieve. And then Fatal Push as well from Aether Revolt there. Really, really strong. Do love this. And converting mana cost 2 or less, but that Revolt trigger is actually very easy to achieve. So they're great. Corpse Churn is next. So this is probably the weakest instant that I need to just really get rid of. I'd love to get hold of Entomb. That's the card that I'm trying to get hold of. At some point, again, I've had another seller fall through with that, which is a bit of a shame. But 2 cost, this does an alright job. Put top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may turn a creature from that to your hand. So, worst case scenario is just filling your graveyard up with 3 cards there. Diabolic Edict is nice, just sacrificing creatures. So again, it just gets around indestructibility and stuff. And even possibly hexproof, because you're targeting the player, not the creature. Ultimate Price, destroy target creature. Monocolored there, so it's good. Non-black creature with Doomblade. I love that new artwork from the dual deck though, that's stunning. Dismember, I've got it in black. I probably shouldn't. I probably should have this in colourless, just because most of the time you're not going to be too unhappy paying 4 life to get put -5/-5 on something there. But I've got it in black for now. But it does a decent enough job. Grave Birthing is actually proved to be pretty decent overall. So exiling a card from his or her graveyard, which can be quite useful depending on what the cards. If they're trying to fill early on with a creature to reanimate, for example, and that's the only thing they've managed to get into their graveyard, getting rid of that's pretty nice. Plus you get yourself a little bit of a mana ramp and a card draw out of it. Destroy target creature with Murder. Again, it is foil. I just upgraded that to a foil, but I do like to have that. To the Slaughter, target sacrifices creature or planeswalker, so again gets around the whole indestructibility part there. And Delirium is actually not too difficult to achieve in cube either, so that's pretty nice. That means they have to get rid of a creature and a Planeswalker as well. Again, Hero's Downfall, destroy target creature or Planeswalker. Again, always useful. Instant speed. And then Murderous Cut, you're never going to pay 5 for that. But the Delves Houndy, and again, destroy target creature. So, nice amount of removal there for black. So moving on to the sorceries, and the main focus for black is a bit of hand disruption here. So we've got 4 pieces of hand disruption. Thoughtseize, my friend gave me, which has been fantastic. We traded away for that. Inquisition of Kozilek's been absolutely great as well. Duress is now a foil version, which I'm very glad to have got hold of. And Harsh Scrutiny, I mean, all of these do some absolutely fantastic work, a bit of hand disruption, and really helping you get ahead at the beginning of the game there, which has been really nice. Bone Splinters I've also managed to get hold of in foil. I mean, I really do like that in foil as well. Again, I'm not going to have any issues sacrificing a recurring creature to destroy target creature for 1. That's not an issue for me at all. Innocent Blood, again, 1 cost, each player sacrifices a creature. Always useful, especially in black where you've got some recursion going on. Exhume we've got next. So each player chooses a creature card from his or her graveyard and puts it into the battlefield. Again, the most likely thing is you're going to have a bigger creature in your graveyard than the opponent will have at the point in time, hopefully anyway, and you'll be able to really help and make a big difference there. I still need to get hold of Entomb and Reanimate as well, just to really push the archetype, but I've actually got most of the cards now that I think I'm going to need anyway, apart from a few tutors, but they're going to end up being proxied for sure. Next, we've got Collective Brutality, Escalate Cost, and the modularity of this card makes it pretty decent as well. And discarding a card means you can always fill your graveyard up if need be. So for 1 in a black, you can either remove an instant or sorcery from their hand, which is nice for getting rid of a counterspell, for example. Target creature gets -2/-2 to the end of turn, or you can drain your opponent down. So again, I like the modularity there, although the bottom one's less likely to be used. Sinkhole, again, destroy target land is always nice. Glad I got this up in a non-basic land to get rid of for 2 mana. Again, no issues doing that at all. Hymn to Tarak, again, not going to have any issues getting your opponent to discard 2 cards at random, and random is the really nice keyword there. Signing Blood's next, so target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Again, most of the time you're going to be using this yourself, and you're not going to have any issues, again, losing that life in black, because there's plenty of ways of getting it back, but this could also be used at some point in time anyway, just to finish your opponent off. It's quite an amusing way to finish your opponent off anyway, just draining them for that last 2. Next we've got Buried Alive here, so again helping with the Reanimator archetype, getting 3 creature cards or up to 3 creature cards from your library into your graveyard for 3 mana, and then the next turn you could potentially play Exhume or Reanimate or something along those lines, just to really help get those creatures out. Next up we've got Never to Return from Amonkhet. This is just a nice bit of extra value. I can't remember what the initial card was. I think it was Ruinous Path from Battle for Zendikar, that did exactly the same thing as the top part of this card. It had the Awaken cost, which we just weren't using at all. And to be honest, the little bit of extra value in the return section there, exiling a target card from a graveyard and getting yourself a zombie, it's just a little bit of extra value. It's not fantastic, but it's better than nothing. Although I'm really, again, not a fan of the artwork style for these cards. The split cards don't do it for me really. Now we've got one of our nice bit of board wipes going on with Infest, so all creatures get -2/-2 to the end of turn. Again, always pretty useful to have. Next we've got Victimize, so again, choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard. You get to sacrifice a creature. If it's Gravecrawler or something along those lines with a nice bit of recursion, not going to have an issue doing that. And then you get to return the 2 chosen cards to the battlefield, so that's always nice to have. Next up we've got our 3 board wipes there at 4 mana cost, so Languish, Yahenni's Expertise, and Damnation. At the size of my cube being 720, I don't have an issue having all 3 of them in here because you don't see them all that often. Languish is nice for the -4/-4. Yahenni's Expertise, getting -3/-3, but to be honest, I found that with all the expertise cards, although in theory the floor is ridiculously low and the ceiling can be absolutely amazing, the average play of this has actually been very, very good, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And Damnation, we're very glad that my partner opened this up from Modern Masters 2017 because it's just really, really nice. Next up we've got Living Death from the Vault Annihilation. I mean, I'm trying to show the foiling on there, it's not very good in these sleeves anyway. Maybe it's just the foil's really subtle. But anyway, again, for 5 cost, exiles all creature cards from the graveyard. You then both players sacrifice the creatures on the battlefield. and then you get to put all of the ones that you had in your graveyard onto play, and that could be absolutely game ending for you, because you're more likely to have some bigger amazing creatures in your graveyard than your opponent has if you're feeding in the reanimator style deck there. It's a little bit slow, but it's still very, very good because you're getting loads of them out. This one, and Burial Rites here, is still pretty slow, especially at 5 mana cost. It's more of a control mid-rangey style deck to be using this in for reanimator rather than the quick combo style, but again, it's still pretty useful to have. Next, we got Ruthless Disposal. So again, you got a discard a card and sacrifice a creature for 5 cost. This is probably one of the cards that I might end up getting rid of, but again, with the recursion creatures we got, I don't have an issue sacrificing a creature. And then 2 target creatures get -13 to the end of turn, so definitely gets rid of 2 of your opponent's biggest threats for sure. And this is just a fun card that I've had into my cube for quite a while. For 8 mana, you're going to get 13 2/2 zombies, and for that amount of mana, I'm not going to have any issues doing that. Plus, it's got flashback as well if you really wanted to overwhelm the board there. But it's not the most played, but it's quite funny when it does actually happen. So finally, moving on into the enchantments, we're going to start off with Sarcomancy. So for 1 black, when it comes into play, you get as a 2/2 zombie creature, and then during upkeep, if there's no zombies in play, it deals 1 damage to you. There are some other zombies around as well, so it's not going to be dealing that much damage to you, but it's still a pretty decent card. So 1 cost, I probably should have put that in there. 1 drops really rather than as an enchantment. Dead Weight, 1 cost, enchanted creature get -2/2. It's a very nice piece of removal to have there. Then we've got our 3 main bits of reanimation. So Dance of the Dead, Animate Dead, and Recurring Nightmare. These 2 here, with Dance of the Dead and Animate Dead, they've got a little bit of a downside coming onto them. Either it's enchanted creature gets -1/-0 with Animate Dead there, or it gets +1/+1 counter, becomes untapped, and you've got to pay to untap it, which isn't that much of an issue with Dance of the Dead. And then Recurring Nightmare is great. I've literally just picked this up. So for sacrifice a creature and return this to its owner's hand and put target creature from your graveyard into play. So you can just keep doing this over and over and over and over again. And with the amount of recurring creatures as well to sacrifice, it's going to really overwhelm the board there. And then we've also got Necromancy as well. So you may choose to play it as an instant if you do bury it at the end of turn. So when you play it, choose target creature from any graveyard. And then if say for example this doesn't get put onto, it gets removed from the creature itself. The creature then gets destroyed, but again, there's another reanimation style spell there. Underworld Connections has been quite useful. I'm not completely over the moon with it, but enchant a land, you can tap it to pay 1 life and draw a card, and over the course of the game you can potentially get yourself quite a few extra card draws, which is the usefulness there. And then we've got Whip of Erebos as well, so all the creatures have lifelink. Again, with the amount of things where you're paying lifelink is always useful, but to be perfectly honest, the best part for this card is paying 2 and 2 black and tapping it to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, again gaining haste. Then they're going to have lifelink as well when it's going to swing in for a nice enter battlefield trigger on top, and then it disappears at the end. So it's just like a nice little black sneak attack style deck as well, which is card which is pretty useful. So there we have all of the black cards in my cube now, and like I said, the difference between what the cube was at the beginning, which I'm pretty embarrassed about if I'm completely honest, to how it's playing now is completely different. It's like night and day. It plays so much better. I've really been enjoying how the cube's playing. The black cards especially are doing a lot better now. There's a little bit more aggro focused, although I think I still need to do a little bit of work on my 2-drops. The spells almost make up for it, but I think I still need to put a little bit more work into maybe reducing those 3-drops down in creatures to more into the 2-drop section, because it's lagging a little bit behind white, which is, the 2-drops are the highest. I think the 2-drops are also nearly the highest within my blue section as well. I need to take a few of the 4-drops out in blue, for example. So again, it's playing so much better. And if you have any suggestions for me at all, pop them in the comment section below, because that's been really helpful. I've had some great discussion already from my viewers about different changes I can make, ideas that potentially for some different cards as well that I may already have. So there's definitely going to be some more little tweaks going to be taking place over the next couple of weeks once all of these videos are out and you guys have managed to actually watch them. So again, thank you in advance for any of the comments you put down there, and thank you again to everybody that's already commented in previous videos. Like I said earlier, there's going to be a playlist which is going to contain all of the Cube update videos. I'll put a link in the description below, and there'll be a card on the screen now as well for you to go and see other ones. Plus the end screen will also have links to that playlist as well for all of you to be able to have a look and see what's happened with the cube. If you want to just keep watching, that'd be fantastic. And again, I'd just like to thank all of you so much for helping really improve my cube, because it's just so much better now than it was before, and that's completely down to all of you. I would just like to take this moment to thank my Patreons of the channel. I can't thank you enough for the help and support that you're giving me. If you'd like to do the same, head over to patreon.com/lifebeginsat20, and there'll be a link in the description below for that as well, where there are plenty of rewards to choose from. With your support, we can really push to make this channel even better. Be sure to check out our sponsor, 5colorcombo.com, for a great range of Magic the Gathering accessories with stunning artwork, plus a great app to draft and create decks on the fly. Use the referral code LifeBeginsAt20 for 5% off. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for new videos every Tuesday and Friday. With your support, we can really help this channel to grow. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.